Hey guys, I'm Jim. I edit photos. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm in Luminar AI and I'm playing around with a street photo that I took, and I did some things to it in this edit that I think really brought it to life, and I thought I would share some of those ideas and filters and tools and tips and tricks with you and kind of walk through an edit. So here we go. Street shot. I've already cropped it and straightened it a little bit, but this is San Francisco, and one idea when you're shooting street photos like this is look for lines. So for me, there's like that crosswalk on the left-hand side that kind of leads down. You get full view across the street, down the street, I should say, to that tall building in the distance. I like the line of the shops on the other side. They're kind of converging. And honestly, I was just looking for something to kind of put in the foreground, so to speak. And this person on a bicycle came along and I grabbed the shot and it just kind of worked out really well. So this is kind of what I think about. But as far as the editing goes, I started out with Accent AI and I went to high 50s, about 60. Because it was really dark, as you could tell. And what I wanted to do is just kind of bring that up so that I could see it better, of course. We're going to do some other things with the light as well here in a minute, but I also brought the highlights down quite a bit, and then bumping the shadows helps. I went to about 25. And so already in just a couple of minutes, I felt like I had a better shot. But one of the things I wanted to do, and you know this if you've been here before, I like my colors, I like doing experiments and things like that. So I went into Sky AI and I went and picked a different sky because I wanted to get a little bit warmer kind of overall tones. So I wanted something that was a bit more like a kind of a sunset. And so I chose this sunset sky of my own. And then for horizon position, and it's interesting, I see that when I click horizon position, it's going back to the original photo, which is, as you can see, crooked and not a 16:9 crop. But anyway, what I did is I pulled this down pretty low, simply because what I wanted was at the top there's a little bit of kind of pink. You can see those pink clouds kind of coming across, and I wanted those to kind of go across some in the sky, and there's a little bit of a line there, and they kind of follow the line of that building. So that was why I chose to put them there. So put that new sky in place. I feel like it looks pretty good, but there's a number of things I need to do, and that is I need to kind of close the gaps here, and I'm going to go to, I think, about 40 on that one. Yeah, and that looks like it covered up. So those power lines were just kind of not coming all the way through. But anyway, I think that looks fine now. So I think mask refinement is good. For, let me close that. For scene relighting, I actually bumped up the relight strength to about 50 or 51. I felt like that allowed the tones to match a little bit better. For defocus, I went with like a 1. I don't want to overdo it because I find that when you drag this defocus slider very far, it very quickly has a huge impact on the sky. So I went to like 1 or 2, something like that, pretty low. But then I took the warmth and the brightness to the left. So both have them like a -30 or 31, simply because I just kind of liked that look. So a little bit darker, a little bit cooler, but I like that kind of a line of pink, for lack of a better word, in the sky. I think that looks nice. So I like that already. I do want to add some structure AI, so I'm just going to go ahead and bump that up to like, maybe 25 or 30, and then I am going to paint it in. I'm going to get kind of a large brush, and all I want to do is kind of paint it into some of the areas that are kind of in the center of the photo. I don't feel like I need to cover that entire photo with structure AI. I just kind of want some of this, foreground, for lack of a better word, just to give that a little bit of a pop, make it stand out just a little bit from the rest of the shot. So there it is before I've done that, and then there it is after. It's not a major difference, but a little bit of help, I think. Then I popped over to golden hour, and I gave that about a 15. So I like golden hour in cities. It takes those warm tones, gives them a nice little boost. And there are some warm tones here, like the lights along the building, the lights from the cars, things like that. I think they look good. But for me, the big move in color, and it's not real big, really, but I think it's noticeable, and that is it came from split toning here, which I love. I've talked about in countless videos. But split tone, in fact, I did a recent video there if you want to check that out. But for the highlights, I'm actually going to about a 40 on saturation, and I'm leaving that hue where it is, which is kind of in the red. So it's getting a nice kind of, it's picking up that pink is what it's doing. And then over on shadows, I'm going to about a 30 on saturation, but I'm going to take the hue over here to like 254, something like that, and that is basically giving it a little bit more of that blue. So I'm kind of doing a, for lack of a better word, it's kind of a pink and blue, or kind of a warmer, cooler interplay. And for me, like the edges, the sky, they're a little bit cooler, and it's a little bit warmer down in the street and that sort of thing. And that's where more of the highlights are, and that's what's picking up with this split toning. So if I turn this off, there it is before those color adjustments in split toning, and there it is after. You can see a little bit more overall kind of pink hue to it because of the highlights addition, but I also wanted to kind of combat that, you know, kind of do a counter to it with the blue in the shadows. Okay, just a couple of more things to go and we'll have this thing wrapped up. So mystical, I went to about 30, and that is really just personal preference. I like shadow in a photo. I used to not. I used to always want to do HDRs where everything was perfectly lit and you can see everything across the entire photo. I don't really think that way anymore. I think it's more natural to have shadow. And on shots like this, when edges of the day where the light is kind of soft, I like to make sure that the shadow remains. And I think it can be romantic and look nice in terms of lighting. So there it is before I add mystical, and there it is after. Just a little bit more contrast, a little bit more shadow. I think it just goes with the photo. And then the next thing is I actually go into color, and I'm going to pull down saturation a little bit, which isn't something I often do. I'm actually going to pull down vibrance a little bit as well. And that's simply because the colors are pretty strong, and I don't want to overwhelm a viewer really with too much color. I mean, it's colorful enough, and so I just took it down just a little bit. So there it is before I reduced the color, and there it is now, just slightly muting that color a little bit. I still think there's a ton of color in the photo, and if you've been here before, you know I love my colors, but it was getting a little too intense, and so I wanted to pull that back just a little bit. And the last thing is really just wrap that up with a vignette. So my subject is going to be this cyclist here, so I'm going to go ahead and put the choose subject mark on the cyclist, and then what I'm going to do is drop this, and I'm going to go to like a negative 48, 49, and the size is about a 22 or something like that. And then of course a little bit of inner light goes a long way, so I think I go to about 30 on that, and that really helps to pop the subject of the photo, which is really the cyclist. It's like they're ahead of the traffic, like they're trying to win. It's almost like they're racing, but there's all these cars lined up against this lone cyclist kind of feeling in the photo. And so I definitely want to alter the light, which is what that vignette does for me so well. So there it is before the vignette, and then there it is after. Darken the edges, focus your attention here in the center of the photo, which I think you're going to be focused on anyway, but add a little bit more brightness to that subject and just brighten that person up a little bit, dull some of the other stuff. And that's really it. I mean, I think in just a few short minutes, we were able to make a massive difference in the photo. Let me show you the before. There it is, unedited, fairly blue, obviously too dark, that sort of thing. But I think new sky, I think it looks realistic. I think it blended in nicely. I think the colors match well and just look like they belong there. And that's really how I did this edit. So that was it. I just wanted to share some of these tips and tricks and these filters and tools that I used on this photo to kind of walk you through the edit. I feel like we came a long way, and really it was just, if I wasn't talking, it would just be a few short minutes of just playing around with some tools. But there it is before, one more time, and of course after. Thanks for watching. I hope it gives you some ideas for your own photos, and I'll be back soon with more videos, my friends. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon, and adios.